Hello and welcome to the Magic Meets Melanin podcast, where we take a deep dive into the world of fantasy. I'm your host, Brianna, and I'm excited to be your guide. This week, I'll be reviewing Kingdom of the Wicked, sharing my thoughts and theories on the Empyrean series, and I'm also excited to share that for this week's Magic Melanin segment, I sat down with fantasy author Ojane Brown to discuss her debut novel, A Fate of Onyx and Ivory, Black authors in fantasy, and more. So get comfy, sit back, and relax. You won't want to miss this. Alright, y'all, we're talking about the Kingdom of the Wicked today. This is actually a trilogy, but this is book one. Let's start off with the synopsis. Two sisters, one brutal murder. A quest for vengeance that will unleash hell itself. An intoxicating romance. Amelia and her twin sister, Vittoria, are Streg, witches who live secretly among humans, avoiding notice and persecution. One night, Vittoria misses dinner service at her family's renowned Sicilian restaurant. Amelia soon finds the body of her beloved twin, desecrated beyond belief. Devastated, Amelia sets out to find her sister's killer and to seek vengeance at any cost, even if it means using dark magic that's been long forbidden. Then Amelia meets Wrath, one of the wicked princes of hell. She's been warned against in tales since she was a child. Wrath claims to be on Amelia's side, tasked by his master with solving the series of women's murders on the island. But when it comes to the wicked, nothing is as it seems. With non-stop action, sizzling romance, and unpredictable twists, this blockbuster series and its page-turning plot is a force to be reckoned with. So, what are my thoughts? This book is a gothic murder mystery set in the 1800s in Sicily. We see that the twins were born under rare circumstances and perform ceremonies to aid in keeping them protected from evil forces. Of course, being a witch during this time can get you killed, as they live in an area where the church is prominent and locals are wary of witchcraft. However, while the family practices magic and is one of the few families in the area that does, they mainly use their craft in the family restaurant, cooking up delicious foods and drinks. Ilya is known for her food and Vittoria is known for her drink making. I love how these siblings are portrayed. Vittoria is more carefree and a bit of a wild card in comparison to Amelia. And as siblings who are twins, we are led to believe that they are as thick as thieves and that they tell each other everything. But after her sister's gruesome death, Amelia is faced with the reality that perhaps she wasn't as close to her sister as she thought, and that she has been keeping secrets for a very long time. How long? We're not sure. There are moments where Amelia can be frustrating, especially because she is headstrong and driven by vengeance, which at times outweighs her logic. She hates being seen as weak, however, being vulnerable isn't a curse. While there is no spice, there are some very heated kisses exchanged towards the end between Amelia and Wrath. The book ends on a cliffhanger, alluding that Amelia's journey to finding her sister's killer has only just begun. This book and trilogy is actually a take on the Seven Deadly Sins, so if you're interested in that trope and theme, this book is for you. Additionally, there isn't a lot of scenery changes. Everything takes place within this little Sicilian village, so you won't be confused too much as well if you're new to fantasy. This is a great read for those who are new because of that. You'll enjoy this book if you love a good enemies to lovers slow burn, if you're into dark fantasy or dark romantasy. This also covers themes of death, magic, and the struggle between morals and strategic thinking. And as I mentioned before, this is a gothic murder mystery, so if you're into murder mysteries, this will be a good transition into fantasy for you. Overall, I enjoyed this book so much. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I love the banter between Wrath and Amelia. Wrath is pretty hot, so if you're looking for a new book boyfriend, he just might be it. The romance aspects are divine, and the overall book was compelling. The only reason I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars is because it leaves off on a cliffhanger. The story's not done, so I'm not exactly sure how I want to judge it just yet. Was it worth the purchase? I actually borrowed this book from the library. However, I do plan on buying the hardback book and collecting the set. The hardback book, depending on where you get it from Amazon, it's $9.70. From Barnes& and Noble, you're looking at about $19.99. However, if you want to get the paperback version, you can order it off Amazon for $7.28, or you can get the paperback version from Barnes & Noble for $10.99. I will say that Barnes & Noble tends to have those collector's editions, so if you're looking for something special or a gift for someone, I would go to Barnes & Noble. Food and beverage play a huge role within the kingdom of the wicked. Stay tuned to see how you can up your reading experience with this week's mystical pairing. Are you ready to take your reading experience to the next level? While you cozy up with your copy of Kingdom of the Wicked, try this mystical drink pairing. Inspired by the family and Victoria's amazing concoctions, this limoncello sangria is the perfect sipping companion. Here's what you'll need: 2 ounces of your favorite red wine, mine sweet red, 1 ounce of limoncello, 3 ounces of orange juice, 1 ounce of club soda, a splash of simple syrup, and a splash of fresh lime juice. What you'll need to do is fill a glass with ice, add in your wine, limoncello, orange juice, simple syrup, and lime juice. Stir it up, top it off with club soda, and enjoy. If you're feeling fancy, like myself, garnish with an orange or lime. You can find the full list of ingredients and the recipe in the show notes. Coming up next, a deep dive into the Empyrean series regarding Iron Flame and my theories for the upcoming Onyx Storm release. And of course, the best is yet to come. Be sure to stick around for my interview with Ojuna Brown. You don't want to miss this. Alright, all my Fourth Wingers, Empyreans, and Dragon Riders. We are locked in with book 3 of the series dropping next month. I thought now would be the best time to talk about Iron Flame and my predictions and theories for Onyx Storm. Iron Flame did not disappoint. Yarrow sure knows how to keep a girl on her toes. Not only did we learn more about why Brennan faked his death, we saw the destruction and fallout of Basgiath College due to the school's negligence and secrecy surrounding Venom. We see Dragon Riders team up with Griffin Riders. We learn more about the true perils that Violet and the gang face. We get a good dose of romance as Violet and Xaden navigate their growing relationship, and we get to see Violet jealous. We learned from Fourth Wing and Iron Flame that both Violet's parents knew about Venom and that her father was conducting research for Feathertails. We also learn that Violet's mother, Lilith, had a fever when she was pregnant with Violet, leaving her frail and with white hair. It makes me think that perhaps the fever was brought on by poison or magic cast by Venom. Venom magic drains magic and life, so perhaps the reason why Violet's hair fades into white and grows back as white, no matter how often she cuts it, magic? Venom? Who knows? Which also leads me to believe that the reason her signet is so powerful and is perfect for fighting Venom and Wyron is due to the magic left behind from whatever her mom was poisoned with or caused her fever to be in Violet's bloodstream. There's also a possibility that with her father researching Feathertails, which we learn through Violet bonding with Andarna, that they hold special powers that they can lend to those that they wish. So perhaps Violet actually has dragon blood in her, and that's why she survived in her mother's womb through the fever. Which would also explain why Tarn said he knows what exactly and who she is. As per usual fashion, Yaros leaves us with an undefined emotional state at the end of Iron Flame. Without giving too much away, those who haven't finished it, you should. I think going into Onyx Storm, Xaden will be in over his head, as the title might suggest Onyx referring to Xaden's abilities with controlling shadows, and Storm linking to Violet's ability to control lightning and storms. The two lovers will have to confront each other in a battle, possibly one that is life and death. Maybe they'll have to choose sides. Maybe Venom will be the side that Xaden chooses, whether it's out of choice or out of obligation to try to save Violet, as he usually does, or Violet having to herself turn Venom or go to the Venom side to learn more about her origin and her birth. What are your thoughts on the Empyrean series overall? And what theories do you have for the upcoming Onyx Storm release? Let me know in the comments. Up next, I'm looking for a new book boyfriend. Can you help a girl out? Romance is in the air, ladies, and it's time for Blind Date with the Book, where you help me discover my next book bae. I've selected 3 romantasy books I've never read. I'll read the synopsis for each one, and you, dear listener, vote for your favorite quote unquote bachelor. The book with the most votes will get a lovely date with me, and on the next episode, I'll share my thoughts on it and if I'd dump or date it. Alright, so let's see what Bachelor number 1 has to offer. From Blood and Ash. A maiden. Chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of a maiden is solitary. Never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to. Never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders. Something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself. Because a maiden has a heart, and a soul, and longing. And when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honor-bound to ensuring her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. A kingdom. Forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those curses draw closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. I don't know about you, but Hawk sounds like a pretty nice date. On to Bachelor number 2, Assistant to the Villain. Assistant wanted. Notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem and terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion a must. Excellent benefit. With ailing family to support, Evie Sage's employment status isn't just important, it's vital. So when a mishap with Renadon's most infamous villain results in a job offer, naturally she says yes. No job is perfect, of course, but even less so when you develop a teeny crush on your terrifying, temperamental, and undeniably hot boss. Don't find evil so attractive, Evie. But just when she's getting used to the severed heads, suspended from the ceiling, and the odd squish of an errant eyeball beneath her heel, Evie suspects this dungeon has a huge rat, and not just the literal kind. Because something rotten is growing in the kingdom of Renadon, and someone wants to take the villain and his entire nefarious empire out. Now Evie must not only resist drooling over her boss, but also figure out exactly who is sabotaging his work and ensure he makes them pay. After all, a good job is hard to find. Nothing warms the heart like a hot, evil genius. Am I right, ladies? Now, on to our final contestant, Bachelor number 3. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. For humans and vampires, the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always, always guard your heart. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn Vampire King, Aurea, carved her place in the world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is entering the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. But winning won't be easy amongst the most vicious warriors from all 3 vampire houses. To survive, Aurea is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Rain is dangerous. He is a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, and the enemy to her father's crown and her greatest competition. Yet, what terrifies Aurea most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. But there's no room for compassion in the Kajari. War for the House of Night brews, shattering everything that Aurea thought she knew about her home. And Rain may understand her more than anyone, but their blossoming attraction could be her downfall in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love. Alright, ladies, that's it for this week's Blind Date with the Book Bachelors. So who will it be? Hawk the sultry guard, the hot evil genius, or the enticing vampire prince? Let me know which of these lovely books I should date. Head to the show notes to cast your vote through the blind date poll link. The winner will be announced on Instagram at Magic Meets Melanin, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you know what's going on. Up next, we're celebrating some magical melanin. I sat down with debut fantasy author Ojane Brown to discuss her novel, A Fate of Onyx and Ivory, fantasy books, book boyfriends, and so much more. So get comfy and settle in for this awesome conversation. I'd like to officially welcome you to the Magic Meets Melanin podcast.
Yay, thank you for having me.
So far, I'm enjoying it. I saw it and I was like, this is something that I would read. I'm gonna get it. And then I was like, oh, I should ask if I can interview her.
Yay, well, thank you for supporting.
Of course. That's pretty much what this podcast is about. It's about me discovering Black authors in fantasy and reading those books and sharing what they're about to other Black women because I feel like more Black women should read fantasy.
Yes, I agree.
So, when did you know you wanted to become an author?
Um, so I would say back all the way freshman year of college and up, even after college, I was like, I want to do acting. I want to do acting. And I had like two agents. I was in some shows, and I don't know when. I was like, this is not for me. And, I stopped. And then I would say 2020, when COVID hit, I was like, did I just want to act because I know I can bring like characters to life? And then I just started putting story to paper. And I was like, oh, that would make sense. So I would say probably 2020 was when I was like, oh, okay, let me get this together.
I definitely relate to that. I actually used to want to be a young adult author for years growing up. I don't know what started it, some sort of literature assignment, but I just started writing and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do now.
Yeah.
I did not end up going to school for creative writing.
I will say somehow we had a project in fifth grade, and my short story actually got published in an anthology in fifth grade.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Do you
Yeah.
remember what it was about?
Honestly, no. And my parents have it on their the mantle on their fireplace, and I'm like, I really should crack that open and see what I wrote because I don't remember it.
You should. It might be a very interesting TikTok or IG story before and now.
I might have to do it now.
So, what would you describe your overall experience as a Black author, especially in fantasy?
I would have to say my experience so far has been absolutely amazing, but I'll add on to that that's a huge privilege because I know that we are often looked over for fantasy. So for me, for it to be my first book, my debut novel, and getting so much feedback and support has meant so much to me because I was ready to go in and put, this time and effort and money into a book for one person to read it. That's what I was ready for. But the feedback and the support has been amazing. And I do believe that part of that stems from the circle that you surround yourself with too.
For sure, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who believe in you, because that kind of pushes you to go above and beyond. I heard a similar statement from another author that I interviewed, and she's 16, so that was very interesting.
Oh my God.
Yes, to see someone so young kind of just do it.
Yeah, I definitely think that Bookstagram definitely helped me. Like me being an actual Bookstagrammer before I ever did like, hey, here's my book. So I definitely think that that helped as well.
Speaking of Fate of Onyx and Ivory, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, reading it, familiar similarities to like those classic fairy tales and cautionary tales were like popping up to me. This is giving me Hansel and Gretel vibes, like Little Red Riding Hood vibes with the undertones and kind of how the family sent her off and they were like, well, we're a little hesitant, but we can't really stop you. So now you have to go into the woods.
I never thought about that really at all. I've never considered it. Honestly, I'm gonna be so honest. I don't even remember like the stories of like Hansel and Gretel. I remember seeing the action movie because I don't know how old you are, but when I was in high school, there was an action one. Maybe I was college.
Oh, I know I've seen. I'm 27. I'm not too.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in a good millennial X Gen Z, although I do not claim Gen Z. Uh, I'm like right there. What do they call us as millennials?
Yeah, something like that.
That's where I'm at. I've experienced all the horrors of a Furby,
Oh my God, I love
but
Furby.
still have seen the change from kids using their fingers and the sideways I love you
Yeah.
phone to apparently just holding their hand up straight.
Yeah. So weird.
So clearly that wasn't an inspiration for how this story played out. But what would you say helps inspire you to write? What books or sources do you read regularly?
Books and sources I read regularly are definitely fantasy, like, fantasy romantasy and dark romance. Like, I'm heavy on dark romance. A lot of people were shocked that my book was not just straight dark romance. It's classified as a dark romantasy. This is going to sound crazy, but I will say that music and movies inspire my book more than other books, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So currently, I think I'm on chapter 2021, and I'm like, this is Beauty and the Beast core. That's all I'm thinking. I was like, this is Beauty and the Beast coded.
That is so funny. See, all these things is fun to hear from people because I don't think any of them, until I hear it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see how that is.
The reason I say that is one, the library takes up a lot of the scenery. Belle likes books, but it was mostly the dinner interaction where like the food just magically appears. And I know that doesn't happen in Beauty and the Beast, but it was kind of similar to the Be Our Guest sequence where they're all singing and all the foods popping up.
Really? Yeah, I don't remember that. I'm a Little Mermaid girl.
Oh, you have to rewatch it. I guarantee you'll be like, oh. But also the fact he's trapped in a castle with someone who is kind of grumpy, and then he's trying to woo her and change her mind about him. And I'm like, that's just the Beast and Belle. I appreciate that.
That I can see 100%.
So, what would you say was the most challenging scene or chapter to write and why?
Ooh. So the most challenging chapter, I will say, is by far the last chapter. Maybe the last two chapters. I can't tell you why, because not even just you, I don't give spoilers because I would hate if anyone ruined like any of my favorite books for me. But it definitely the last two chapters, in my head when I was writing it, a certain event happens and I was taking it out, putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in, and I'm like, oh my God, do I want it to end like this? Do I want to do this major thing? What if readers hate me for it? So that was definitely the most challenging scenes and chapter to finish and write.
To piggyback off of that, what did you actually end up editing out of the book and keep out?
I will say that I did take out a lot of fluff, like things that just were unnecessary, like crazy descriptions of things. But one thing I do remember, like fully taking out, was an early sex scene. Because even though I love, like, girl, give me all the smut. I love smut and I love dark romance. But for this fantasy book, I wanted to make sure that the details were done, the storyline was there. I wanted a strong storyline, strong characters before we got into the smut. So book two may have a lot more smut, but I remember I had one fully written out and I was like, I'm taking it out.
I appreciate that because my personal taste is I don't mind it, but can I at least have a plot too? So
Yeah.
when people ask me, what are you reading? Oh, you're just reading that for that. It's like, no, I swear I'm reading it for the plot too. I'm not just reading.
Yeah, I wanted the plot to be strong. I wanted the characters to be strong. I want the build up. Like I was like, I'm not doing it for this book. Maybe another book, but this one I just completely omitted it.
I think that will ultimately work out in your favor because I feel like scenes like that are so much more powerful when you actually feel that connection
Yeah.
with the romantic tension and everything with the characters and you develop it over time because now you're attached and you're like, I don't want anything like terrible to happen to you too.
Yes, yes, yep. I agree with that 100%.
I don't like reading stuff if it doesn't have some sort of romance plot in it.
Yes, yes, I do. I need my romance. Sometimes I can do some mystery. Sometimes, like maybe one or two books a year, but
No, I get my kick from like other stuff through manga, so I collect manga. I'm currently in my manga room slash office, and it's just full of josei and shoujo.
I can't get into it, but I can't talk because I'm a huge comic book nerd. So I'm next to like 8 boxes of comic books right now that are mine. So
Yeah, that's my husband. He's a comic book guy, but it's only like Walking Dead and anything that has anything related to martial arts.
Oh, he would hate me. I have a comic book signed by everyone from The Walking Dead.
I'm gonna tell him.
I have met all of them and I have the comic signed by all of them.
Oh yeah, he'd be like, "What?"
Yep, yep.
So, what character you like the most and why?
Oh, most would absolutely be Amira. Like her whole attitude, her sass, her I'm not taking anyone's shit attitude. Like I love her. Okay.
As far as book boyfriends go, do you have one at the moment?
It is always gonna be Cassian.
Always gonna be Cassian?
It is always gonna be the Lord of Bloodshed. That is, oh, even my husband at this point
Not
knows,
even
like,
gonna, okay, I had to ask. Mine shift, so.
it's always gonna be Cassian. Like I have there's like Lake Decker from the Canary Cowards and Riot from The Ritual. Love both of them, but Cassian is that is my forever true love.
What is it about him?
I think it's the way she describes him. Like that's I love that type of man. But also like I don't know. Have you read ACOTAR before I ruin
Oh, I
anything?
have.
Okay.
I have.
So like how he just always pulled through for Nesta. Like she had the bad attitude, she had the bad habits. She was just a raging bitch, if you will. And he was like, "You know what? She's mine and I'm just going to stick it out and look at him now." Like I just love it. I guess you know what that kind of reminds me of my husband actually.
It's like, yeah, because at the same time, too, I can relate to the attitude of Nezda and also your female lead. Maybe, and I feel like I was a little irritated with her because I kind of saw myself in her and I was like, girl,
Yep. Yep, yep.
please,
Yep. There's things in there
please.
that she does that I didn't irritated me. Yep.
It might make you have to think for a bit, but if you were to dip your hand into the Lake of Solaris, what vision do you think you'd experience?
Oof. What is so funny is the vision that she saw is kind of based on an ex relationship of mine. Do with that what you will, but that pretty much is my vision. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, I get that. I was in a long-term relationship before I met my husband, pretty
Yeah.
much all through college.
Yeah.
So,
Same here.
yeah.
So that, you can reread that part again, and that's pretty much my vision that came to mind.
Alrighty. So, do you engage in any other art or creative outlets besides writing?
I will say I do not. But my husband is a recording artist. He does music. And so we're heavy music people. And like I told you before, like music definitely ties in, has a heavy influence on my writing.
Yes, I definitely noticed that, especially when I saw the playlist. Personally, I always appreciate having a playlist on my Spotify to go with whatever I'm reading.
I'm glad you appreciated it.
Thank you so much for giving me your time. This was a fun conversation. I cannot wait to finish your book.
Oh yeah, you'll have to tell me when you finish it. Usually everyone sends me messages and cusses me out. So yes, please do.
I don't feel that way. I'm scared.
I
I'm
feel like you will.
scared now.
I have never till this day met anyone that didn't yell at me. Sorry in advance.
So before you go, where can readers find and purchase your books?
Yeah, so of course, Amazon. It is on Kindle Unlimited. If you have that, but Amazon for print and ebook. Anderson's Bookshop, if you're in Downers Grove or downtown Naperville in Illinois, they carry it in shop. The Last Chapter Bookshop carries it in store, and Barnes and Noble online too. You can either go into Barnes and Noble and ask them to order it, or you can order it online and they'll ship it to you.
I look forward to finishing your book and seeing whatever else you cook up.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, and I enjoyed this too. I look forward to you yelling at me when you're done.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Enjoyed this week's episode? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Listen to Magic Meets Melanin on Spotify or YouTube. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Magic Meets Melanin for more fantasy book recs and fun. If you're interested in any of the books discussed today, you'll find links to purchase in the show notes. Until next time, book babes, happy reading!